stay right here for
You
this
can do
live
that.
intro?
Well done, Pam.
Thank you so much.
In your conversations, do you sometimes feel you're not connecting with the other person? Does this also happen when you're doing a presentation or speaking to an audience? Are you trying to make a good impression with others through your words alone? Our guest enricher today will show you some ways to make a stronger, deeper connection with people one-to-one and in group settings by paying more attention to one really important thing, your presence. As a speech and presentation coach, trainer, and speaker, this guest enricher helps people approach communication in a new way, teaching all of us how to be with people using the practice of relational presence. This guest enricher will fill us in on how making some simple shifts in how you approach speaking with one person or with many, you can create levels of engagement and feel a greater connection with others, both in conversation and in presentation. When he's not coaching individual clients, working with groups, or speaking to audiences, he enjoys writing, volunteering, networking, unbelievable, okay, networking, he enjoys it, okay, hanging out with friends. Please help me welcome Speaking Circles facilitator, Eric Atwood.
Thank you, Melissa, for that self-written introduction. I absolutely love networking. It's an opportunity to meet new people. It's one of the things I absolutely love most about my life and about my work. So welcome, everybody. It's really exciting to be here. I'm so excited for each one of you on your path to being a speaker, or maybe you already are. And to me, it's a privilege to be able to offer what you know and what you believe and what you're passionate about to groups of people. Sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't, but it's all about delivering your message and making connections with people. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about relational presence and the speaking circles work that I do, which helps people feel more connected and have richer conversations and have deeper relationships and have more meaningful relationships. And this work you can apply in one-on-one conversations as well as in group settings. If you're speaking or presenting to a group, you can apply these practices. They're just as useful, just as effective. So I'll take everybody through a couple of exercises, give you a little bit of background, how we do these things, and really the benefit for yourself. Because we're always in relationship with people, aren't we? We're speakers, yes, or aspiring speakers. So that's a group setting, but we're always in relationship with people that we know, people we meet for the first time. So it's all about making a connection and being authentic and conveying what you want to say and how you want to be received by people in an effective way. So relational presence gives us access to that. So I'll describe a little bit more about that. Before I get into that though, I want to share a little bit about my own backstory. Because if somebody had told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing the work that I'm doing now, I would have said, no chance. I was painfully shy. I couldn't even stand in front of a group, let alone speak in front of a group. Not only that, but it was hard for me to speak with one person and feel comfortable. Even people that I knew, family, friends, even though I didn't have that many. It was hard for me because I was so worried about what people thought of me. I was afraid of judgment. And I felt like I had no worth, no self-worth, no self-esteem, a lack of self-confidence, all those things. So even into my early 40s, I felt like I was the shy, scared little boy who hid in his shell, who didn't want to open up to anybody for fear of what they might think of me. And so I wasn't able to connect with other people. And yet there was something deep inside me. I felt like that's what I really want more than anything else. I want to feel a connection. I want to feel like I matter. But it was the hardest thing for me because I simply wasn't willing. I was always putting up a barrier. There was always a wall. Even with, again, people that were close to me, it was so hard for me to feel accepted and appreciated. And it all spoke to my own lack of self-appreciation and self-love. It was all that. So in my early 40s, I went through what I call my personal development years. And it was 5 years, literally exactly 5 years of intense self-development. I mean, you think of anything to help you grow personally, right? Personal development, I did it. I mean, years of counseling and self-inquiry and self-introspection and assessments and workshops and reading books, tons of books. I mean, everything. Self-help from here to Kingdom Come. And one of the things I found in that 5-year period was speaking circles. So speaking circles is a technique that was developed in San Francisco years ago. It's not really well known. Everybody knows Toastmasters, right? I know there's a couple people here who do speaking circles, but anybody else heard of speaking circles? Yeah? I like to think of it as the anti-Toastmasters. I won't belittle Toastmasters too much, but it is quite a different experience. And I know Sandy and Sherry and Melissa have done speaking circles and probably done some Toastmasters too. But in Toastmasters, again, I'm not going to disparage them, but it's a speech, and you have to prepare for it, you have to rehearse for it, and you're going to get critiqued, right? So a lot of people that go to Toastmasters have the sense of, oh, I'm going to get corrected. So anyway, without getting too much into the Toastmasters technique, speaking circles is just the opposite of that, where you can simply be yourself and be in relationship with people, not prepare anything in advance, so it's very organic, very spontaneous. And the beauty of this work, to me, the best part of this work is you only get appreciation from people. So even if you're nervous, you cry your eyes out, you rant, you do whatever you like, people are going to love you. They're going to go, yeah, look at this person opening up and really sharing from their heart. And that's one of the things about speaking circles that's so powerful. It allows people to feel comfortable in their own skin, regardless of what they're sharing, regardless of how they're being. It's simply an access point to get into who they really are and how they want to share and how they want to connect with people. Because this idea of relational presence is being with people, being in relationship. When you're speaking in a group, you can be with one person at a time, right? Even in a small group like this, you can't be with everybody, right? Even if you try or you see peripherally, you can't really. But you can be with one person at a time. And so speaking circles teaches people how to really be in relationship, one person at a time. I don't know, triple this thing. So it's just always and only one person at a time. And eye contact is a huge part of this work. Because this is the access point, isn't it? We're fortunate to be able to see, and it's a great way to connect. You feel this palpable connection with people. And that was one of my concerns too, is like eye contact. Oh, I can't keep eye contact with people into my early 40s because I was afraid of, what might they think of me? In speaking circles, I found my voice, I felt comfortable in my own skin, and I realized that I really wanted to connect with people. And so this eye contact is a huge part of the work, and it really is a joy. It's a pleasure to be with people through the eyes and feel this sort of heart connection. It's something we all want. It's one way we all connect, right? Through the heart space, and most of us through the eyes. And so when you're comfortable being seen, it's really powerful to be able to do that for other people too. That's one of the joys of the work, is that you're really appreciating people through your eyes, through your heart energy, through applause, through verbal appreciation. There's so many ways that people feel affirmed in this work. So it's another thing that we all want, and we all have this need to be seen, heard, and valued, right? Here's the proof. When somebody says something nice to you, does something nice for you, acknowledges you in some way, it makes you feel good, right? It's universal. And the other aspect of that is how beautiful it is to do that for somebody else. To see, hear, and value other people. Right? And here's the proof of that. When you do something nice for somebody, it makes you feel good and it makes the other person feel good, right? Most of us are like that. We like to do things for other people. It just uplifts both of us. So those are two of the things that I learned in speaking circles. And the other thing I learned is that presence is more important than words. You've probably all heard about nonverbal communication and maybe seen some studies and stats and things like that. There isn't anything definitive in that area, but certainly a lot of our communication is nonverbal. Probably over 50%. Again, there's nothing definitive there. So your presence, how you're being with people, is as important, if not more important, than what you're saying. And so having a grounded and authentic and strong presence when you're speaking with people is really important. And again, the eye contact and being with people, being fully present, showing up fully in a conversation. So the eye contact, really listening, really showing appreciation to people. And another aspect of relational presence in speaking circles work that's really helpful is to be able to speak from the heart. And a lot of us are speaking from our head, really just sharing ideas and facts and perspectives and beliefs, information, essentially. It's useful, right? It's a good way to communicate and kind of convey what we're thinking, what we believe, what we know. And sometimes a more powerful connection that we can make is through the heart. Is sharing something personal, things that matter to you, your values, your experiences, your stories. Because all of us connect from that place. If there's emotional content there, we all feel the same emotions, right? Not all at once, of course, but we know what sadness or fear or joy or love feels like. So when you drop into that heart-centered space and share from that place, you can feel a stronger, more palpable connection with others. And so all these things, except maybe the listening part, certainly apply in group speaking, when you're speaking to a group, when you're doing a presentation. That idea of being with people through the eyes, speaking from the heart, sharing something about you. Both speakers here today started with a story. It drew people in. People in the audience, the listeners, as we say in speaking circles, maybe saw themselves in that story. And the speakers did a good job of sort of relating their topic to the audience, maybe asking a question, has this happened to you? Have you felt this before? And so stories are a great way for people to connect. So speaking from the heart is really important. And even in a group setting, if you're the speaker, the presenter, it's helpful to be able to really listen. So it's not all about you, right? And of course, as a speaker, as a presenter, you're trying to make the material relevant to everybody there so that they're getting some value from it. But when you're asking questions, is to really listen, listening for the answers, and so that you relate, the topics, as Pam did so well there. So I thought I'd take everybody through a couple of exercises to kind of give you an experience of this work. And I'll do paired exercises. I think we have an even number of people here. So if you want to just kind of scoot your chair so you're facing the person next to you. And you two can work together.
I discounted
Okay. So I'll ask everybody to come into silence. Let's just come into silence. And if you'll simply close your eyes. Trust me, this is a safe place. I'm not going to make you do anything too awkward. So just simply be in silence and kind of notice your breath, feeling your feet on the ground, grounding yourself, feeling the space, feeling the energy in the room, the energy of the other people. Just being aware of yourself in this space. Now being aware of the person opposite you. Just kind of notice their energy. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes and simply be with the person opposite you in silence. So this is not a conversation. This is simply a state of being with another, using your eyes and feeling that connection, maybe through your heart space. And it's just going to be about 30 seconds, so you're simply going to be in silence with your partner. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes and be with your partner. Okay, you can take a breath together. Yes, it's helpful to breathe. Some of you may have held your breath that whole time. Sometimes that happens, right? When we're with people, when we're speaking and listening. So it's always helpful to breathe. So how was that experience for people? I'd love to hear some feedback. Whether it was good, it was awkward, how was it? Yeah?
You want to say something.
You want to say something, of course. Typically, it's like, that's the only way we communicate. Sometimes we think that. You wanted to say something, yeah?
I felt impolite, like, oh my God, I'm staring at her. Is this,
Oh, yeah?
Culturally, it was like, is that cool?
Yes, yes. In some cultures, it can be considered rude. Yeah. So I probably should have given you an instruction to have a soft gaze, so it doesn't feel like you're staring, right? Like, yeah. We say kind eyes in speaking circles too. So that was my mistake, but thank you for mentioning that, because yeah, it can be a little bit difficult. Yes, Melissa.
I think it's totally delicious.
Yeah.
I think it's like so great to have full permission to just drink in the other person fully and completely, and
Yeah.
we never get to really just be with. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love how you
It was
describe
nice
that.
going beyond that comfort zone thing with that and going just like to this sense of communion beyond letting that go.
Right, right. Yeah, I've had people, I do these exercises pretty much all the time in my workshops for at least a minute. And, you know, sometimes a little longer, and I've heard this being done in like for an hour.
Oh,
That
wow.
I would never do. But I get that response, like you start to, there's like lack of separation there. It's like you feel connected with the person. You can almost see yourself in the other person and vice versa. So I'm glad you had that experience. In just 30 seconds, it's amazing how connected you can feel. Others, yeah?
You know, at first I thought it would be really uncomfortable, but actually it was surprisingly comfortable, and I was noticing we started kind of breathing and blinking at similar times.
We
did,
Both
yeah.
kind of smiled at the same time. It was very interesting, the connection.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where that connection comes in. Sometimes you start to mirror.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and some of it's unconscious. You don't even realize you're doing
I
it.
wasn't thinking, yeah.
You're just feeling like, oh, okay, I feel very comfortable and connected to this person, and we're sort of symbiotic, doing the same things, and maybe even feeling the same thing. Thank you for that. Others? Yeah, Sherry?
I've done this before, but
Yes.
you know, what I'm very aware of is it's really about your own ability to relax and feel that presence, because I think when I've done it and get tense, it's because I start being self-critical. So just really allow, it's like this melting experience of just being. And yeah, I mean, when you do that, it feels, it's really peaceful.
Yeah, yeah, it can be peaceful, it can be beautiful, it can be even healing. To be able to open up yourself that way and allow somebody to see you. And of course you're doing that for somebody else. You're really seeing somebody else. You're going beneath the surface and seeing something inside that you can't even describe, but it's still there. Yeah, so it can be an amazing experience. And yeah, and I love it. But like Melissa said, we don't really have that opportunity or that permission, especially with people we meet for the first time. That'd be weird, wouldn't it? We're like, can you just be with me for a few seconds?
Somebody needs to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you
who
have
knows?
an intimate partner in your life, bless you, you're lucky. You know, you can
Mhm.
lay there and look at each other. But if you don't, like I don't, you're never laying around in the gaze of someone else. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's all, you know, even close friends, you're not going to do that. So I think it's just the coolest. I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I thought it was delightful. And I've done this many times. In acting, this is like acting 101.
Oh, right.
And sometimes you will get with somebody that there's something about their presence or spirit that is very unpleasant. And sometimes you'll get in a situation where someone has a great sadness in their life and they'll just start weeping while you're looking at them. But I think it's delightful. What an honor that someone will allow you in their life. You know, like that's so cool. And I would love it if people did this more often. And just to experience my friends without the stuff, you know, and it's an honor.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. That's beautifully said. It is. It can be an honor. And if we give ourselves permission, maybe to ask a friend to be in this space. As often we think, like you mentioned, not that there's anything wrong with that, Melissa, but you really want to say something. That we feel like we have to say something in order for the discomfort or awkwardness or the lack of what we feel is disconnection. And yet, we can connect without words, right? That nonverbal communication. Simply being with somebody in silence, you're communicating a lot. I think you had that experience, probably others too. You felt this connection where words aren't even necessary. In fact, if you use words, they would somehow detract from this pure connection that you're feeling with people. So sometimes we just have to give ourselves permission to do that. I mean, it's obviously easier with people you love, people you know, right? But making that request and just feeling, you know, I just simply want to be with you. I want to be in the silence, and I want to feel this connection that words are simply not necessary. So, you had a point? Yep.
Yeah, that was the first time I actually did that.
Oh, fantastic.
And I'm used to, making eye contact when I'm talking to people.
Yeah.
So this was totally different to just stare at somebody I don't know. And I'm thinking, I'm inside my head saying, is she looking at my eyes going, oh,
Yeah.
I was trying,
Right.
I don't want to just look
That's
at one eye, so I'm trying to
self-consciousness.
make sure. And I'm like, I know she sees my eyes.
We were all doing the same thing.
So, it was just.
You got this whole conversation going
Yeah,
on.
I'm just talking to myself, like, am I looking too much? Am I looking like,
That's great.
Right. How was it for you? We'll come back to Steve.
It's beautiful. When I think about it, and I thought about this, Pam, when you were talking about eye contact, about the eyes being the windows to the soul.
Yes.
So there is this one moment that I realize that connection happens, and then it's like I almost start, my whole body starts pouring in to, and it is that oneness, and I'm like, and then at the moment that I feel that connection, then I begin the honoring process about like honoring this soul, this beingness that, that I'm really with, and I'm getting the presence to. And the one thing that I loved about this work, and you do this in a very interesting way also in speaking circles, is that I realized before in my professional life, I was a mouth watcher. Like, I thought I was looking at people's eyes, but I was really a nose and a mouth watcher. And I really never looked into people's eyes because that was my own issue of my own. Didn't want to go that much intimate, with people. So it wasn't until I really started working with the being comfortable with looking at people's eyes did I realize that I was a nose and mouth watcher.
I think
Yeah.
that's fascinating, and
That
partly
is,
because every time I've only done this exercise a handful of times, so I'm not super practiced at it, but I recognize I'm acutely aware of my my politeness barrier. So, I'm always that kind of painted on smile that's always there, because after a minute you're like, well shit, now it hurts. my cheeks are like shaking. And so, you start to realize like how much that comes into play. And I think the idea of being a mouth watcher, because there's affirmation there, right? So if someone's smiling at you or frowning at you, you get some sort of acknowledgement from them. So you look first there before you look to the eyes, which are actually a much better indicator of acknowledgement than the mouth is. But it was just it's always interesting to me how how aware I am of my politeness. Meaning I walk around with like this painted on smile all the time. So
Yeah, and it's interesting we feel like we have to do that, especially when we're in conversation and in that particular exercise, you feel like you're obligated to smile.
Well, I'm gonna think I'm mad
Why?
at you, because if I'm not smiling, I might look like I'm mad.
Yeah, and there's a neutral gaze as well,
Yes.
right? There's
I
a
haven't-
soft
I haven't
gaze where
perfected that yet.
you really can't tell
Yeah.
what you're feeling. You're simply there with somebody, and that takes practice too.
Sure.
Smiling, of course, is good, but it's okay not to emote through your face. And it's one way we speak, right? One way we convey information, convey language is through our face, facial expression, a big part of body language. But it's okay to just have a neutral, soft gaze and just be, and just allow that natural connection to emerge. So, so the idea here is that you can do this in conversations. It doesn't have to be for 30 seconds, but it's okay to be in silence just for a few seconds and just see how that is, because we feel something much deeper when we're in conversation without words and feeling just in relational presence, being with somebody else. It really gives us access to a deeper kind of connection. And you can do this in groups too. It's okay to pause. It's okay to breathe. It's okay to be in silence. Yeah, not for 30 seconds or longer, but taking a breath, allowing people to be here with you, take in what you've said, and connect with your energy. And so, by all means, do that in presentations and in your public talks, taking a few seconds now and then, just to be. So, let me just see if there's another note I wanted to make about that. Yeah, so one other point here is giving yourself, allowing yourself to be seen, heard, and valued. Right? Because if you're not looking at somebody, in a way you're disconnecting. There's a couple of things you do when you're not looking at somebody, especially in conversation. You're making it about yourself. Right? You're usually in your head. Right? The person might be speaking and you're looking away thinking. Sometimes you do that when you speak. You're speaking, you're looking away because you're thinking, you're in your head. It's kind of gathering your thoughts. It's okay to avert your eyes every now and then for a few seconds, but if you do that for too long, you're definitely going to disconnect from people. They're going to feel like you're not really paying attention to them. You're not interested in them. I've been in conversations for like a couple of minutes where the other person wasn't looking at me for a second. And I'm like, I didn't even know what he was saying, because all I could think was, he's not looking at me. Why would I want to listen to him?
That's a weird experience.
It's really weird. They're speaking out to the wall. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's strange.
It's just such a huge message though, isn't it? When
Yeah.
someone does that, they don't feel confident, they don't feel good about
Right,
themselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or over, sometimes it's because they're overconfident, they have too much a sense of.
Yeah, but they're usually in their head at that point too.
Exactly.
A lot of it's self-consciousness too. I'm afraid what this person might be, showing me through their eyes. So that's one reason.
Can I did you have something there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, these things like what Rashad said too, like this is the first time I did this, and becoming conscious what I've been doing, like what you said, you look at the mouth and nose, and that's what I've done. And then I noticed when I was doing this with Melissa, I was shifting back and forth between those two things. So then when you made it conscious like that, now I really, it's helped to understand that more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I love that. I hadn't heard quite that thing. The eyes and the nose and the mouth instead of the eyes. Like, so yeah, again, when you're not looking at somebody, the other thing is it's like you're telling the other person, I don't feel comfortable in your presence. Right? Like, I'm afraid of being seen by you, and I'm unwilling to see you. If you're not looking at somebody. So, just something to keep in mind when you're in conversation. You can do this with people in 5 minutes, with somebody you meet for the first time. It's just being conscious of the eyes, really being with this person opposite you. You never know, in a 5-minute conversation with somebody you meet for the first time, where that can go. What kind of deep, meaningful conversation you can have, and maybe taking it further, right? You might develop some other relationship with this person because you have that initial and immediate connection with that person. Sometimes it starts with just that idea of being with this person, and then just seeing where you go with it. So, hopefully that was instructive, and sounds like it was.
Yeah, good, absolutely.
Awesome. Do we have time for one more exercise?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got it's 1:10, so we go to 1:30.
Okay, let's do one more exercise. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, this time there won't be speaking. It won't be in silence, but you're still in pairs, same pairs. Okay, so in this exercise, one person will be speaking and the other person will be listening. So I'll give you a little bit of instruction around that. The person who's speaking, I'd like for you to share something from your heart. Now, what does that mean? It means something about you, something that matters to you, Something personal. Could be anything, right? It could be how you're feeling right now. But really being conscious of speaking from this place. So get out of your head right now. You're going to be with this person and just drop into the heart space and just share just a little bit about you. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be one thing, it could be a few things, something about you, right? Something how you're feeling, something that happened to you this morning. It doesn't really matter, but dropping into that heart space. Each person is going to share for 90 seconds. Now the other person is not responding in this particular exercise. So you as a listener, I want you to really listen. That's not the easiest thing to do sometimes, right? You might pick up something from the other person, really want to respond. It's like, oh yeah, I have something to say. In this case, what you want to do, if you feel like you're drifting off a little bit, not really there listening, imagine there's a meter in your head, like a dial in your head. So if you notice you're not fully listening, turn the dial up, like it's a listening meter. Turn it up. Get out of that internal dialogue saying, do I agree with this person? Do I understand? Why are we doing this? What am I going to say when it's my turn to talk? Whatever. And just fully listen, using the eyes, feeling that heart connection, and just opening yourself. We call it available listening in speaking circles. Being fully available, 100%. So that there's no, it's not about you, it's all about this other person. And really feeling and appreciating this person. Right? So as a listener, that's your only job in this exercise. Okay? So first person speaking from the heart about something about you, and the person listening is fully listening, right? For 90 seconds or so. And then we'll switch, and we'll get some feedback and see how we go. So you decide who wants to go first? Pick a 1 and a 2.
I think we both have to say.
Okay, so just take a second, right? Take a breath. Okay. Now first person, go ahead and share.
I'm exciting